Alright, so everybody loves to ask, what tools do I need to start with as a woodworker? Well, a lot of that depends on what you want to build. I mean, if you want to do boxes and chests and stuff like that, that's going to differ from somebody who wants to make cutting boards or epoxy tables or birdhouses. I mean, you have to come up with what niche you want to go into and try it from there. But if I had no idea going in, knowing nothing about woodworking, which is exactly what I did. I came from a automotive industry background and had no exposure to carpentry or woodworking or any of that stuff. Yeah, I helped around the house and helped friends out, but I didn't actually do the work. I was more like the laborer, going and running and getting tools and this, that, and the other. But if I had to do it over again, there's a few things I would definitely change. But let's start off with some of the basic stuff that I would get if I was doing this over again. First off, drill and driver set. I would get both. I would not get one without the other, because you're going to need to drill holes for things. You're going to have to drill out pilot holes for screws. They're really handy to have. There's also grinding tools you can attach to them should you need a wire wheel or a grinding disc or something like that. The driver is for screwing things together. So, I mean, who wants to do that by hand, you know? My first set, I made the mistake, again, not being knowledgeable coming into this. I bought a 12-volt set. It did me well, but it didn't have the power once I started getting into bigger builds and stuff like that. So if I had to start over again, this would have been the first thing I would have gotten. Moving on. So, big debate over a table saw. Should you need one? Should you get one when you first start, or should you put it on the back burner and wait? It's a judgment call. How easy do you want your life? I mean, with a circular saw, you can do everything a table saw can do, except you're the one moving around the material, cutting it, versus the material going through the tool. If you want to boil it down like that. I mean, this will do your cross cuts. It'll split lumber in half. I mean, yeah, is it inconvenient? Absolutely. Is it slower? Yes, it is. But $100 versus 3, 4, depending on the saw you get. If you do get a table saw, my only words of advice is you get what you pay for. I took the cheap way out, but their first generation Hercules, the riving knife was completely out of whack when I got it. The blade drops on its own at times. It'll just come down. I still have yet to figure that one out. I do have an 8-inch DeWalt underneath me that I have completely fallen in love with, and if I had to do it again, I would have just gone with the DeWalt like I was planning to, but money was a factor, and I went the cheap way out and got bit in the butt. No offense, Harbor Freight, but your first gen completely sucked. So if I had to do it again, I would have just gotten the circular saw and not have worried about the table saw until later on. If you don't have the money for a table saw, there is another option. It's more or less convenient, but it will do you. Your jigsaw. You can cut lumber in half, crosswise. You can do circular cuts where with a circular saw, it's not really feasible to do it. I mean, you could, I guess, but you would have a bunch of waste. And let's face it, lumber and timber is not cheap nowadays, so we want to minimize waste as much as possible. But anyways, the jigsaw is definitely a go-to. It's less expensive, especially a quartered one, versus a circular saw. I think you can get these for like $60, somewhere around there. And it doesn't have to be DeWalt. I mean, I would stay away from Cobalt, in my opinion. But you don't have to start off with higher and more expensive equipment. I chose to, but I was also a lot farther along when I finally got one. So when you're building stuff, you definitely need some sort of tape measure. I just happened to grab this 6-foot one. I think it cost me like $3 at Lowe's at the time or whatever. I actually have a few of these, but I do smaller items, so lugging around a big, gaudy 25-foot measuring tape, it doesn't suit what I do. So, I mean, you guys know who are not new to the channel, I do a lot of cutting boards, so I do a lot of smaller measurements versus a furniture maker who needs to be able to measure out a bed that's 8, 9, 10 feet long, including the head and footboards or whatever else. I mean, your niche is really going to decide the tools that you're going to get right from the get-go. I didn't really get into cutting boards until like year 1.5 is when I started getting into making cutting boards, and I had to change gears in what tools I was getting and what I was looking at for tools. So you may come in time get commission work where the person asks you to build something outside of your niche and you take on the job. Well, you're gonna have to research that job, and you may have to get other tools to help you get the final product that you're looking for. So, well, we got tools to cut with, we got tools to put things together with. So how we gotta finish it? Well, that's where sander comes along. And I can't believe I still have this thing, but this is my very first sander. I think it cost me like $30 when I got it, but it's been through a war. I mean, I did a lot of sanding with this, epoxy work with it. I mean, it's seen her better days, and I retired her. But yes, when it comes to finish work, you are going to need a sander, so you can add that to the list of things. That's a Chicago Electric. I got it at Harbor Freight when I first started. Again, being new to the whole thing and not knowing a damn thing, I just got that. I didn't know about RPMs of it being an orbital sander and stuff like that. But it suited me fine. It got the work done that I needed. It took a little time, of course, but it got things done. I mean, when you get up into your bigger brands, such as your DeWalt, Makita, you can tell I was sanding epoxy. They're about double the price. I think this was like $59.99 or something, and I paid about $80 for this Makita. I was working for a buddy of mine, and he had one of these, and we were on our hands and knees sanding a 120-foot cedar deck, and I fell in love with his sander. And I think that's when my sander finally kicked the bucket, is when we were doing that. Anyways, this one's a palm sander. It's flat. It's nice that you're trying to flatten something out that may have a high ridge or a low ridge, and you're trying to get everything nice and smooth and on an even plane. Palm sander is good for that. There's bigger machines out there that'll sand for you, but starting off, a handheld sander is more ideal. One quick note: starting off, I would stay away from cordless tools. Yes, they're convenient. Yes, they're fast and easy to grab. I guess that falls under convenience. But anyways, they're more expensive. Once you get into a brand, you really should stay within that brand. The last thing you want to do is start getting different brands of cordless tools and only having batteries for those specific tools. Luckily, a lot of these companies now, when they make a tool, that battery you can use amongst all their tools. So if you want to save yourself some money and having to replace batteries and and mix matching batteries, I would stick to one tool platform and stick with it. And I would be sure about the platform that you're going to want to start off and get into. This way you know what you're getting into, you can plan for it, and obviously it's going to go within your budget, whatever your budget may be at the time when you're looking to start to get into that. Starting over again, I would also involve clamps, actually. There were too many times where I had to run in the house, grab somebody, and ask them to hold something for me. It's really nice to have some clamps around. They act as a second pair of hands for yourselves. Or for yourself. I don't know why I pluraled that, but anyways. Pipe clamps. These are probably your cheapest route. I believe it's about, well, when I got these, even though they're still wrapped in packaging, I think they were like $12.99 a piece, so that's 24 bucks. And then your pipe that you had to connect them to, which at the time was another 20 bucks. So 40 bucks, I got 2 clamps out of it. And oh, I do have them right there. Pardon me for a moment while I walk across the shop. This clamp by itself, when it's not on a deal, is over $40. One clamp. Since I do cutting boards, I like these clamps. It keeps everything square for me, but you can also do the pistol grip clamps and they work just fine. I would definitely pay attention to the holding pressure that they can work at and decide what clamp will best suit your needs. I mean, you got small ones like this. You got clamps that will open up as long as 6 feet, or at least that's the longest I've seen. Pipe clamps, you can make them as long as you want, as long as your pipe is long enough, so to say. So, another thing I would get, and I did get these at the beginning, so I am going to pass this one on to you, some kind of eyewear, especially if you happen to get a table saw when you first start out, and we're all guilty of it. We don't put the dust shield on the top of our blade just because it does get in the way sometimes, and we just don't like to deal with it. I'm not telling you to do it, but if it comes with it, put it on your saw. That's all I'm saying about it. But when you don't have that on your saw, as the blade's rotating, it's rotating towards you, and that dust that doesn't get trapped in the dust port for dust collection will come back up over the blade, and you'll wear it on the front of you, and it can actually hit you in the eye too, which I've had happen on multiple occasions. So I have gotten much more religious about wearing my eyewear, as with any tool actually in the shop. It's just a good habit to be in. Sometimes I'm wearing them and I even forget I have them on until I look at a photo or play back a video and see that they're on and you can't see my eyes or my face very well, just because I glare off of these. But these are the 3M ones. They're very comfortable. The wings are very flexible, I guess. I know with some of the other ones, they'll dig into you back here and starts getting tender and sore, or possibly even give you a headache. It all depends on the day. I know it happens to me. But they're really light, very comfortable, and by no means am I sponsored by anybody. I'm just a small-time woodworker with a YouTube channel. I'm just doing this for fun, and since I'm down in here doing it, why not create videos and try to help other people along? But I digress. These are very comfortable and very worth the $15 I paid for them. You're going to need pencils, marking tools, some sort of square. You can normally find a package deal with a 4-inch square and a regular size 7-inch square for about anywhere between 10 and 20 bucks, depending on the day and if they're on sale or not. If you're getting into bigger work, then I would get into some bigger framing squares, such as something like this. because you always want to be square. I mean, if you're getting into cabinet making, obviously that's another set of, that's other tools that you're going to want to get into. But it's nice to have squares around regardless of what size, color, shape they are. Obviously, they only come in a triangle and this, like this, that I'm aware of. But I would definitely put squares on the list. And the last tool, if I had to do it over again, that I would get would be your trim router. Now I'll explain why in a moment. Versus a plunge router. Less than $100, or at the time when I got it, it was less than $100. This one was around $200. Now I want to say plunge routers are getting into the $300 range. And that's a lot of money to be shelling out when you're first starting, especially if you don't even know you're even going to like doing it. Luckily for me, I fell in love doing it, and I've expanded quite a bit over the years. I've been doing it for about 5 years, and I'm still just a small little guy in a big pond. But these are easy to maneuver. 1/4 inch collet versus the 1/2 inch. You can use the same bits as long as the collet fits that you can use in a plunge router. You can use this as a plunge router. You just have to set your depths and measure your bit as it protrudes. I would still take little bites at a time, even with the plunge router. The deeper you go, obviously it's more material it's going to grab, and it can send you for a ride. These are actually quite dangerous of a tool, but they do beautiful work. They're great for putting borders around things. They have a lot of uses around the shop. But I would definitely start off with the trim router for budget's sake and stay away from the plunge router until you can actually justify getting one. I went with the plunge router thinking I used it for flattening slabs because my very first woodworking, remind you, automotive industry. Very first woodworking project was a river tabletop for my aunt and uncle. I'll show you a picture here in a moment. And so I used this guy for flattening slabs and trying to get my work flat. I didn't know this tool could actually do the same thing at half the cost I spent for this. But hindsight's 2020, so anyways. I would definitely go with the trim router versus the plunge router starting off. So, but we know, starting off, you don't know what you're going to like. Unless you've had exposure to it and you fell in love with it and you want to do it, then you already know that. Then you're already probably have done your research looking at tools and stuff like that and figuring out a budget for yourself. I would set a budget for myself starting off. When I started, I spent $2,500. It was tax season and got my taxes back. And I told my wife at the time that I wanted to start woodworking, and we split taxes right down in half, and I took my half and I went out and bought a boatload of woodworking tools. I bought a grinder that very day. The same day I got everything. A grinder. Still to this day has not been used. Handle is still off of it. The key's right here. I mean, I haven't even touched it. That was a wasted $30 at Harbor Freight. So, but, you know, I saw, when I was researching epoxy table videos, I saw guys having that tool. I ran out because you had to clean the slab. Got a restorer. I did a lot of my research. Cam, sorry, but I'm throwing your name out there, from Blacktail Studios, and that's way back when he only had 100,000 people following him. He's definitely shot up over the years. He's very good at what he does with the epoxy tables, but that's who I learned how to build epoxy tables from. I studied his videos, I watched them, and when he was starting out, he grabbed one of these, talked about it in his video, and worked away on the live edge itself and did a great job of removing material. And then I figured out there's other tools and cleaner ways of doing it. But I'm sure he was experienced at the time, just like I was. I was going by example, and later on figured out there are all other ways of doing it. And I'm sure he's figured out the same thing. But, so, yeah. Getting into whatever part of woodworking will really decide what tools you should really get. These are just the basic tools. If you're going in not knowing any idea of what you want to build, or you just know you want to woodwork. That's all you know, and that's all you want to do. So what I brought out here today is what I would have done 5 years ago if I was just getting into this. And with some of the tool knowledge that I have now, this is definitely what I would suggest anybody who's looking to get into woodworking to get involved in. Even if you don't like it, circular saw is good to have around the house. So is the drill and driver. Sander, you could probably resell somewhere unless you want to keep sander. You what you decide to get out of it. The router you can resell very easily. There's always people out there looking for stuff. So the list I gave you, you could also recover from financially if you decide that, hey, woodworking isn't for me. It's not as much fun as I thought it was going to be, or you just don't plain like it, which I find that really hard to believe anybody would feel that way. But anyways, I'm kind of biased, obviously. But that's what I would start off with. And yeah, I think my next video will be about my journey through woodworking for the past 5 years, what's transpired, what I've learned, where I come from, all that sort of jazz. Haven't really quite figured out what I'm going to say in it yet. It's definitely an idea I've been thinking about as I work here in the shop. And yeah. So that's going to wrap it up for me for today. If you like what you saw, please hit that subscribe button. If you think anybody out there could use some of this knowledge, please feel free to share. It's free. It doesn't cost anybody anything to share. And if you want to see more of my content, you can look. I have no idea where the video is going to show up on my ending screen. But anyways, you can hit that notification bell and you'll be notified when my next video hits the internet. So thanks, everybody. Have a good day and make some dust.